Welcome to Reflections. I'm your host, Patrick Tomlinson. And today we have with us Maddie Chandran, who is a management consultant who has consented to coming to speak with us a little bit about the management and entrepreneurial process. Welcome, Maddie. Maddie is a principal of R6 Catalyst, and she'll tell us a little bit about the whole entrepreneurial process. Welcome, Maddie.
Thank you, Patrick. Glad to be here.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit about R6 Catalyst and how it got started.
Sure. If I can put it briefly, R6 Catalyst. First of all, the name, people ask me the question all the time, what did you come up with? What does R6 Catalyst mean? It was actually started as R6 Studios as a design. When I say design, it was like marketing, company. But then when I came on board, we kind of, changed it a little bit to bring in elements of strategic consulting, and leadership development programs into it. It was actually founded in 2006. And, we provide customized solutions for various organizations. And a lot of work that we do, it's really with public entities in New York and New Jersey. And we help them develop programs to help businesses, right? So if people ask me, what do you do? I just tell them we help organizations evolve, right? When I say that, our philosophy is to provide small businesses the skills, expertise, and the support that they need to actually empower their growth and transform their businesses. That's really what we do.
Okay, very good. When you say empower, what are you speaking about specifically, concretely?
Sure. So, businesses, especially that are small businesses and that are owned by minority and women owned, we face multiple challenges, right? Um, there is something called leveling the playing field. So all of us have the same equal opportunity to be able to compete and win work with government agencies, with private sector entities. Thing is to empower them, is to actually give them the necessary tools and resources so they can actually get to the next level, right? And so that way they can actually compete uh, in equal measure with other large companies that may or may not, they may not have the opportunity otherwise. So having the tools, having the information and the resources is very important, and that is how you actually empower yourself, right? So with the information is powerful. So without the right information and resources, whether it's individuals or businesses, we are left behind. So that's really what we do. And the way we do this is, we are thankful that we work with a number of agencies and government agencies in city and state, in New York City and New York State, as well as in New Jersey, that we have helped develop these programs, large scale, multi-year programs to help small businesses. It's like on an ongoing basis. We've been working with entities, agencies since, I would say, since 2013, 2014 onwards. We've participated in a number of programs. With Economic Development Corporation, we've worked on the Blueprint to Success. Blueprint to Success was really a program that helped minority and women-owned and local businesses, maximize their potential for growth. Then we worked with School Construction Authority on training businesses with advanced management skills, right? Management, marketing, organizational development. It was part of the advanced mentor training program that we were part of. And with New York State and with New Jersey, we've developed programs called the Supportive Services Program, especially the one in New Jersey. It's very dear to me because I was instrumental in envisioning it and sort of getting it off the ground. This was the first time that New Jersey had something like this that was so exhaustive. So it is really, to provide the necessary skill sets, the necessary information, the right training and education, because not every entrepreneur has got the training when they start businesses, right? In the sense, when I say training, I not necessarily everybody has got business schools. Not everyone has gone to business school to get the training that they require. So these programs really help them, get the skills and expertise that they need.
Okay, very good. Um, can you just give us a brief overview of, without getting too specific, of um, some of the elements that you would expose a small emerging entrepreneur to in order to augment them, to make them better, to make them more competitive?
Sure. Um, you know, there is, you'll hear the first question that people have to ask themselves is, why did you get into business, right? So there are challenges to being an entrepreneur, and especially for people of color and women. But the things that you have to keep in mind is that you do have the ambition. Are you motivated? Can you step out of your comfort zone? Because most of us are used to being like, in our area of, where we're comfortable, we don't want to take chances, and you have to be able to work hard. So what, the question is not just about, what it's not just about being passionate, right? You have to think holistically about business. What is your product? What is your service? What is it that you're trying to do? Who is in your marketplace? Do the research, right? Who will you be selling to? Can you attract great talent to work for you? Because what are you? You're just one person, right? And you need to have a good talent pool, good creative people around you. So it's just the question of one thing that I tell everybody is don't stop learning. Honestly, every day I am learning something new. It's by talking with people or reading or, there's so many resources out there, especially now in with the internet, there's everything. TED Talks is a good source for, looking at information, Harvard Business Review, these are all free resources, right? So it's like keep learning, right? And it's also the question of never giving up. Be persistent, understand what opportunities are there, right? Like there's a famous a quote that I remember. Um, Walt Disney, he had said, "The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing." Right? So have a plan, make sure you've done your research, and go ahead and do it.
Okay, very good. Um, so, Maddie, what would you say are some of the major stumbling blocks for small women-owned, minority-owned businesses in getting started and getting up and going and established?
Sure. Um, there is quite a lot of them if you think about it. The thing is about when you are um, an entrepreneur, or if you're starting, newly, it's a very lonely place to be. I'll be honest with that. You know, you you really don't get the necessary support that you need. But that said, and the challenges that I have seen myself is, access to funding. That is a big challenge. You can't put in your own money really to start a business. You should be able to, get the credit, the capital for it. uh, Finding the right people to support you, with the right wavelength, your employees or consultants, or, who is going to work with you, because you cannot really do it all. Even though you may have the capability to do it, you need to have the right people, the right team. And how can you find these people to work with you, right? Women have an additional burden. They're homemakers, they have childcare to worry about. So there's a lot of issues when it comes to that. But there are, and the I think the most, uh, when I say psychological, one of the things that, like I said, you have to remain positive. It's easy to get bogged down, by the challenges that are there. It's not easy to get inroads into, with new clients or with new entities that you want to work with. So you have to like be able to network. You have to be able to like research. who you want to work with, and find and have a game plan. When I say a game plan, is basically not necessarily a business plan, it's a strategic roadmap. This is where you are, this is where you want to go, how will you get there? So, yeah, I mean, challenges can be overcome. There are challenges, but think about, what are the benefits that you can accrue, right, out of being an entrepreneur. So, yeah, so keep your eye on the ball. Don't look at the obstacles, look at the end of the journey, right? So,
Okay, very good. Maddie, in your experience, can you speak to a couple of programs, whether in New York or New Jersey, that you can explain in rough detail, not to any great extent, that
mhm,
entrepreneurs can take advantage of in getting themselves established?
sure. Um, New York is very friendly for small businesses, and I'll be honest with that. Although I'm based in New Jersey, I've spent a lot of time in New York, in New York City. I lived in New York City. New York, New York State businesses. Did you know that small businesses make up like 98% of New York State businesses? That's a large number. New York State and City also have a 30% goal for minority and women owned businesses. What that means is any contracts that are let out by the government, they need to have, they need to have 30% utilization, in the sense companies that get those contracts have to utilize up to 30% of minority and women owned businesses in that particular contract. So there are a number of opportunities for learning. When I say learning, there's mentoring programs. Empire
Can you
State,
mention, okay, a couple of these? I'm sorry
sure,
to interrupt.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting into. So
Uh-huh.
Empire State has got something called the Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers. They have about 21 of them throughout the state, right? I would say a majority of them are in New York City, right from Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn. These are centers that actually help entrepreneurs in not just reviewing your ideas and helping you develop a business plan. They also help you get access to credit. They give you all the technical assistance that you require. That is the Empire State Development. And then small business services, they also have like a number of mentoring programs. There is one especially just for women, one mentorship program. I think it's called VNYC, is only for women, mentorship program. And then there's one for Black entrepreneurs that they have, which when I say they, I mean Small Business Services, is called SBS. And in fact, the presentation that I'm putting together, I will send you. It will have links to these different programs that you can actually look into and find that more information. And then Economic Development Corporation has got incubators, right, where they provide the training and the resources that entrepreneurs, startups need to be able to get into the business. And then there's also Small Business Administration, US. There's a federal program. They work with New York City through something called SCORE. That's SCORE, SCORE New York City. And they have small business development centers. It's called SBDCs, right? There's a number of options like that that's available. In addition to that, there's also not for profits, you know, that also provide like mentoring services to small businesses and to to would be entrepreneurs. So there is a lot of information in terms of how do you get your word out there, how do you find what you need to do, so uh, biggest thing is, when I was reading through, I found, you know last year has been really tough for all of us, right? 2000, because of COVID, 2020, sorry. By the end of the year, I was reading somewhere, I think it was the New York Times, that almost 9.1 million small businesses were closed permanently or temporarily. 9 million jobs were also lost, right? So it's a little bit depressing. But if you think about it, in 2020, from 2019, at the same time where businesses were closing, there was a record increase in business startups. I was surprised to read that. There was a 24% increase in the number of startups that came into existence just last year. It was bizarre when I read this. This came out of a actually an international economic institute called Peterson Institute, and there was a lot of reasons for that. There is the government provided PPP loans. You know, people did all sorts of things with that. People bought fancy cars and stuff, but the smart ones actually started businesses. You know, whether it was in healthcare, whether it was in technology, whether it was, and one of the strongest business was in online retail because everybody was sitting at home and shopping from home. So they have been. It is incredible when you look at the numbers, and and that said, even the fact that there is women-owned businesses, if you're talking about that, 40% of US businesses are women-owned.
That's quite a
You know,
high percentage.
yeah, it's a huge number, 40%. Like
Okay.
compared it to 20 years ago, there's 100% more women entrepreneurs than they were 100 years ago. So, 20
Wow.
years ago.
Wow. Amazing. Um, so Maddie, what strategies would you recommend, particularly for women-owned businesses and minority businesses, in their efforts to sustain themselves during this COVID environment, outside of financial, anything that you have come across in your own experience?
Yeah. So the first thing I would encourage is, again, there are opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses, but opportunities are for certified businesses. So the first thing is to get certified by the city and by the state. It is not a difficult process. There are not-for-profits that can help you with the certification. It's pretty simple. Get certified. That will give you access to government contracting, right? So, and there is a lot of stability with government work. People that have been affected by COVID, companies or small businesses that have been affected by COVID, one of the biggest, things that you can do to help yourself is to find, pivot, find a different way to do your business. If you want to stay in the same business, use technology, in the sense like R6 Catalyst. Let me just give you an example. What we do is a lot of it is in-person training ever since February, even before the states were shut down, we quickly pivoted to doing everything online. So it's just a question and using technology to be able to transfer knowledge, to be able to conduct the training programs. So there is opportunities and there is a requirement for businesses that can adapt to the current environment. Businesses that have been suffering, the one thing that I would say is I hope businesses have taken advantage of the incentives. The PPP loan is a big plus. A lot of companies have been able to survive because of those loans, right? And use this time to sort of strengthen what is it that you want to do, right? Right now, I know it's a bit of a struggle, but we'll all get past it, right? So that's what I can say in terms of just keep up positive, try to see if you can pivot and learn something new, use the opportunity to step back and reassess your business if you can, and see, just keep positive and keep at it.
Okay. Excellent. Would you want to mention a couple of the technologies that you would use or you'd recommend to small businesses to use or to look at?
It depends on what they do, Patrick, in the sense, when I was saying that there was a lot of business startups that grew this year, it was because there was so much opportunity in healthcare. Not everybody can get into it, right? When you talk about technology, there are a lot of tools when it comes to back office operations. Your time as an entrepreneur should not be spent in really, it should be spent in growing your business, right?
Can you just
Opportunity,
can
as
you
long
just
as,
explain what is back office for those of us
sure.
or those who do not know what that is?
Absolutely. So a business has multiple functions, right? There is business development, which is growth. There is strategy, which is, strategy and business development go hand in hand. That is really your vision about thinking, where do you want to grow your business, really? And you, being the face of the business, you are the one who is to promote. You are your best evangelist. You're the one who's going out there and getting the work. Meanwhile, someone has to take care of whatever is required to get done behind the scenes, right? Whether it's administrative, whether it's HR, whether it's accounting, and every business has a lot of paperwork that we need to do. So these things, if you can streamline them in some ways, use technologies that are useful. The first thing that I find entrepreneurs do or don't do is manage their time well, right? There's so many things that we have to do, and there's only that many hours in a day. So what happens is time management becomes key. How do you target what you need to do? There are some platforms out there. I can name a few. One is, and they're either free or there's, like, small subscription fees. One is called Asana. It is Asana. There's an online platform that tells you these are all the tasks that I need to do. This is when I have to accomplish it by. You can set your milestones. You can even delegate them to someone else to be able to do it. But this is almost like a time management and a project management tool, right? There's another one called Avaza. There are a lot of platforms like that. Accounting. A lot of companies I see, or small business I see, still literally handwriting, their invoices and stuff. I'd say invest a little bit of money, if you can. There are, again, free courses that are available to you to learn QuickBooks, but find someone, an accountant or a bookkeeper that can help you manage your accounting functions. Because really, back office is, when I say back office, it's all the other stuff that goes in the back, your financial, your accounting, your administrative work, right? Um, my one of my mentors used to say that businesses are won or lost in the back office. It's really important to make sure that your accounting is crisp and that your paperwork is clear, right? So yeah, there are a bunch of technologies out there, and a lot of these resources, like I said, they're free for you to use, or available at at a low cost. And then things like, for communication, use email. Get familiar with Microsoft Outlook. How to use Microsoft Office programs. So there are a few things, that companies should get acclimated with.
Now, Maddie, you spoke about managing your time and the back office operations. Can you take us through what would be required in the quote unquote front office operations for small businesses, or things that they
Sure.
should be thinking
Yeah.
about?
So again, it depends on the business. If you're in, let's say, retail, then you know what front office is the retail storefronts, right? And if you front office is really the marketing, the business development, like, and the sales. When you're a small business owner, is really incumbent upon you to go out there. Like I said, you are your best evangelist. You have to go out there and, shake hands and network as much as possible. One of the things I always say, and you were asking me, what do you say to small businesses? Find mentors. Find people that can mentor you, that can guide you, right? It's really important to be able to talk to people. Those are the things that go in the front office: the networking, the marketing, the sales, putting your pitch together.
Okay, okay. Well, we have a few minutes left, Maddie. I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to specifically talk about, or to highlight, or to accentuate in the remaining minutes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say, there's three things that, people say that they've become entrepreneurs because, they're passionate about it, or it gives them the freedom, or security or flexibility, and they don't want to do their job anymore. They want to be their own boss. But really, there's three elements because of which you become an entrepreneur. One is there's an opportunity for you. right? There is something out there that you can do. Then there's a necessity, right? It's because you need to become an entrepreneur. And then third thing is the ease, right? Ease with which you can become. Again, ease is all the resources that are available for you. The opportunity is there constantly in this world. You have to look at what is it that you can do and how can you excel in it, right? Not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily love what you do. You have to be able to really get into it and begin to love what you do. Really, that's what it is. It's not like you start off the other way around.
Okay. Um, there is the idea that there's location. Do you want to just mention that in the closing minute or two?
Sure. That is really applicable to two things. One is actually applicable across the board. Location in a physical, like brick and mortar sort of a business, it is where you are, right? Where you're situated. If you're a coffee shop or if you're a flower shop, you have to make sure that you're in a, in an environment that people are passing by in a high traffic area. Location, when it comes to doing services or service businesses, it is important where you are as a person. Like if you are, forget about COVID, like, in a normal environment, you have to be able to be in front of your clients. That really applies to location. So it's like getting out there and getting your word, right? So that really, it's about being in the right place at the right time.
Any books or material that you've read that you find stimulating or useful that you would like to just briefly mention or suggest or discuss?
There's actually quite a lot of them. The
You know,
books that I read quite a lot of books. I like to read books that autobiographies, for instance. Then there's this author called James Collins. He's written Good to Great. One of the one of the gurus of management is Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker has written a lot of books that are on management. It's
right.
called The Effective Executive. There's one like that. Stephen Covey has written a lot of books on self-improvement, like, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, leadership. There's a bunch of books, when you talk about it. And it's very interesting that you ask this question. I read a
Mhm.
lot of autobiographies, and then I like to read about business persons that have, succeeded with or without education. For instance, Sir Richard Branson, Bill
Mhm.
Gates, Steve Jobs. I find them very inspiring, and I like to listen. Instead of listening to music on my drive when I'm going back and forth, I listen to some inspiring talks on TED Talks. So yeah,
Very
and
a
listen to
mouthful.
books, audiobooks. So
Oh, okay, excellent. A mouthful, Maddie. I want to thank you for appearing, and I wanted to ask you to probably share another segment with us. But my sincerest appreciation to you for appearing on Reflections. Thank you so much for coming.
thank you.